There are four paths you can take when you start a business, and three of them will destroy you. Most people leave their soul-crushing corporate job in order to start their own business, but they end up building another cage, one that looks like and feels similar to the one that they were trying to escape in the first place. And so today I want to show you exactly which path leads to freedom and which ones lead to burnout, which ones lead you to betraying yourself, which ones lead you to building a business and a life that you promised yourself you didn't want to experience. Hey y'all, this is Vivianne and welcome to Choose Courage Inc. At Choose Courage Inc., I have the privilege to coach entrepreneurs at all stages, whether they are aspiring entrepreneurs or whether they've had a business for a few years or so. And I want to share with you something that a lot of entrepreneurs I work with, they're afraid to admit, and that is that most of them are miserable. Not because they're failing. Many of them are actually making good money, their business is doing well, but they're miserable because they built a business using the same toxic patterns that made them hate corporate America in the first place. They traded a bad boss for worse bosses, their clients, or even their own unrealistic expectations. So now they've escaped the 9 to 5 to work 24/7 because they didn't detox and untangle themselves from those bad habits, from those unhealthy expectations. They left the rat race to build their own hamster wheel. And the worst part is that they think this is what entrepreneurship is supposed to feel like. But I'm here to tell you, it's not. After working with all of these entrepreneurs, I decided to build a framework to help people see where they're actually heading before they get there. And I call it the courage over comfort spectrum. And it's built on a horizontal and a vertical axis that most people don't think about when they're starting a business. The horizontal axis runs from extractive capitalism to regenerative commerce, and the vertical axis runs from entrepreneurship as erosion to entrepreneurship as healing. And this ends up forming four quadrants, four totally different paths you can take. And here's the truth, it's that most people end up in the wrong quadrant, not because they're deliberately choosing that quadrant, but because they don't even realize there's a choice to be made and there's a better way to experience entrepreneurship and themselves as an entrepreneur. And so I want to break down the horizontal and the vertical axis. I'm going to put an image or a link in the show notes for you to pull up this diagram if you're curious about what this looks like and if you want to follow along. But I want to first break down the horizontal axis because this is where most business advice goes wrong. On the left side, you have extractive capitalism. This is the dominant model. It's what most people think entrepreneurship is. And extractive capitalism is about the taking. It's about taking value. It's about taking resources, taking time, taking energy. And the goal is to extract as much as possible from your customers, your employees, yourself, the planet, and concentrate it into profit. It's the model that says growth at all costs, scale fast, optimize everything. Your value is measured by how much you can extract and how quickly. And this is the model that created billionaires who treated workers like disposable resources. This is the model that burns through founders like kindling. This is the model that measures success purely by how much you accumulate, regardless of what you destroy in the process. Now, on the right side, you have regenerative commerce. And I want to be really clear about why I use the word regenerative and not just sustainable. Sustainable means not making things worse. It's about maintaining the status quo. It's defensive, right? Don't use more than you have. Don't deplete the resources. But regenerative means actively making things better. Regenerative implies not just sustainability, but active replenishment of communities, ecosystems, your nervous system, and culture itself. It signals a healing, a nourishing, and a future minded approach. And I pair it with commerce instead of capitalism deliberately because commerce keeps the conversation rooted in real economic activity, sales, values exchange, entrepreneurship, but it implies mutual benefit because commerce and capitalism are different. And so we have to understand and note that. It says we're trading value in a way that benefits everyone involved. That's commerce. Commerce is ancient. Commerce has been around for a long, long time. Capitalism has not. It's newer and it's extractive, it's exploitative. And together, regenerative commerce says we believe in doing business that gives back more than it takes. It's business that nourishes, business that creates value for everyone in the ecosystem, you, your team, your customers, your community, the planet. Business where the growth of one doesn't require the depletion of another. Now, I want to talk for a second about that vertical axis because this is the one nobody prepares you for. At the bottom, you have entrepreneurship as erosion. And this is when building your business slowly wears you down. It erodes your health, it erodes your relationships, your creativity, and your sense of self. Every day in the business takes just a little bit more from you than it gives back. You're depleting your reserves in this, your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual reserves faster than you can replenish them. And yeah, you might be making money, you might even be helping people, but the cost to you is unsustainable. This is the entrepreneur who has panic attacks every Sunday night. This is the founder. This is someone you might know who hasn't taken a real vacation in 3 years. This is the business owner who's successful on paper, but dying on the inside. They're unraveling, they're falling apart. Entrepreneurship as erosion is like running a marathon where the finish line keeps moving. You think, once I hit this milestone, then I can rest. Once I hit this other goal, I can finally rest. But the milestone moves, the goalpost moves, and you keep running until you collapse. Some of us have been or have experienced this in corporate. Goalpost keeps moving. Milestones change all the time. And you're going until you collapse. So on the bottom, you have entrepreneurship as erosion, but at the top, you have entrepreneurship as healing. And this isn't toxic positivity. This isn't follow your passion and the money will come BS. Entrepreneurship as healing means building a business that supports your growth as a human being. It means creating something that nourishes you while it serves others. It means your business becomes a vehicle for working through your relationship with money, with worthiness, with boundaries, with asking for what you need. And it becomes a practice ground for the person that you're becoming. It's about recognizing that, yes, entrepreneurship will change you, but the challenges should be in service of your evolution, not your destruction. And so when entrepreneurship is healing, the hard days make you stronger, the obstacles teach you, and the growth of your business mirrors and supports your personal growth. That's why I truly, deeply believe that entrepreneurship can and should be a healing experience because you're building something that gives you energy instead of just taking it. So when you put these two axes together, you get four quadrants. And I want to start with the worst one, which is the extraction engine. This is the bottom left. This is where extractive capitalism meets entrepreneurship as erosion. The extraction engine is where most mainstream business advice leads you. It's where systems are designed to maximize profit through depletion of people, planet, purpose, and imagination. And this is where toxic hustle culture lives, where unchecked growth and exploitation are disguised as entrepreneurial excellence. It's where you're told that if you're not grinding, you're not serious. This is where I think about this brilliant developer I met. He left his corporate job, he started an agency, and within 3 years, he had 15 employees, multiple six figures. And so on paper, yeah, my dude was crushing it. But in reality, panic attacks every Sunday night, working 70-hour weeks, team turnover rate of 60% because people kept burning out. His marriage was falling apart because he was never present. His kids were like, Daddy, where you at? And so here's the trap. He was making good money, but he couldn't stop. The business model required constant growth, more clients, more projects, more employees, more overhead. And so he had built a machine that demanded to be fed, and he was the fuel. That's the extraction engine. It looks like success from the outside. It looks cute. It looks amazing when you post it on LinkedIn, but it's slowly killing you from the inside. And so you end up measuring success purely by revenue and scale. You end up adopting all the bro marketing tactics because they quote unquote work. You convince yourself that once you hit the next milestone, then you can slow down. But that milestone keeps moving. That milestone keeps moving farther away because the extraction engine isn't designed for sustainability. It's designed for extraction. And so I want to get into 3 signs that you're in the extraction engine. Here's how you know. 1, you can't remember the last time you felt excited about your work instead of just exhausted by it. 2, your business growth requires someone to suffer, either you, your team, your customers, your family, someone's getting squeezed somewhere. And 3, you're afraid to slow down because you think the whole thing will collapse if you're not constantly pushing. If that's you, you're not building a business, you're building a prison with better marketing. You're building prison with this facade of freedom. Now let's move to the bottom right, the conscious collapse. This is where regenerative commerce meets entrepreneurship as erosion. And this quadrant is sneaky, y'all. It's dangerous because it looks like you're doing the right thing. You're talking about sustainability, you're using conscious language, you're positioning your business as ethical and values driven. But underneath the beautiful branding, you're still running on urgency, overwork, and unexamined power dynamics. The business still demands everything from you. So you're sacrificing your health, you're sacrificing your relationships and your peace, and you're just doing it with better Instagram aesthetics. And I call this a conscious collapse because it feels healing, but it erodes slowly. It makes me think about someone I've worked with before as a client. She had left her corporate sustainability job to start a coaching practice helping purpose driven entrepreneurs. Her branding was gorgeous. Her messaging was all about holistic success and work life integration. Her Instagram looked like a meditation retreat. It was cute, it was amazing. But when we looked at how she actually ran her business, different story. Taking on too many clients because she felt guilty saying no to people who really needed her help. Undercharging because she didn't want to seem greedy. Working evenings and weekends to accommodate everyone's schedules. No systems, no boundaries, no sustainable practices. She was building a business that talked about healing while slowly burning her out. I've been here before. I know what this looks like. But here's the wake-up call about the conscious collapse. Your beautiful mission statement doesn't pay your bills. Your commitment to helping others doesn't excuse you from taking care of yourself. And your good intentions don't protect you from burnout. The conscious collapse is what happens when you try to build regenerative commerce without doing the inner work of healing your relationship with work itself. You can't heal others from a depleted place. You can't build sustainable systems while running unsustainable practices. And so the language is right, but the structure is wrong. The values are there, but the practices don't match. And that gap between what you preach and what you practice, that's what slowly eats away at you until there's absolutely nothing left. All right, let's move to the top left quadrant, the compromised cause. This is where extractive capitalism meets entrepreneurship as healing. This is the realm of well-meaning entrepreneurs and change makers trying to heal systems while still playing by the rules of extraction. You have a genuine vision. You care deeply, but you're trying to fund that mission through business models that require you to compromise on the very values you're fighting for. It's reminding me of a client I worked with once as well. He had started a social enterprise helping formerly incarcerated people learn tech skills. His heart was completely in it. He genuinely wanted to create pathways for people who were shut out of the system. But to scale, he took funding from investors who wanted aggressive growth targets. And in order to meet those targets, he cut corners on the training program. To keep investors happy, he focused on metrics that looked good in reports instead of actual transformation for the people that he was serving. And within 2 years, he was running something that looked successful on paper, but felt hollow. The business was growing, but the mission was shrinking. He was helping people, sure, but not in the way he had envisioned, not in the way that he had originally committed himself to in the beginning. And so he was exhausted from trying to serve two masters, the investors who wanted returns and the community who needed genuine support. That's the compromise cause. You start with the healing intention, but you fund it through extraction. And over time, the extraction engine takes over. And so here's the trap. You start with this beautiful vision of changing the world, but you need money. So you seek funding from traditional sources, investors, grants, corporate partnerships, and those funding sources come with strings attached, right? So suddenly you're managing stakeholders instead of serving your community. You're tweaking your programs to hit metrics funders care about instead of focusing on what creates actual transformation. You're making compromises that seem small at first, but they add up over time. And before you know it, you're running impact theater. You're performing social good for an audience of funders while the actual work gets squeezed into whatever time and resources are left over. And so the compromise cause, this quadrant, is what happens when you try to heal systems while still depending on those systems for your survival. Let's talk about where we're actually trying to go, the top right quadrant, the creative rebellion. This is where regenerative commerce meets entrepreneurship as healing. This is where entrepreneurs design with courage, care, and imagination. Business becomes a vehicle for liberation, rooted in care, guided by courage, and powered by creativity. These entrepreneurs don't just critique extraction, they build bold, beautiful alternatives. They're not trying to play by the rules and win, they're making new rules. I know someone who was a therapist who wanted to create resources for workplace trauma, but she didn't want to trade hours for dollars or scale by hiring and managing a team of therapists. So instead, she created a membership model, recorded trainings, monthly group sessions, peer support. She priced it accessibly but sustainably. She built in rest periods where the community was self sustaining and she could step back. And she was transparent about her business model and invited her community to help shape it. What she built wasn't the biggest or fastest growing business, but it was profitable. It was sustainable and genuinely helpful. She was making good money while working reasonable hours, and her members were getting real value, and she wasn't compromising her values to make it work. That's the creative rebellion. Hey, this is Vivianne, and I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. And I just wanted to pause for a quick moment to say that this podcast is ad-free on purpose. And we want to keep it that way so that it feels like a space that's just for us and just a little bit more divorced from noise on what we should buy and what we should consume. And so the best way to help us do that is by sharing it with someone you think would really connect with it, someone who you think would feel encouraged or get something out of this episode, or by leaving an honest review because it helps more folks find us. And honestly, it could be the exact thing someone else needed to hear today, just because you took a moment to spread the word. So thanks for being here. I appreciate you, and let's get back to it. The creative rebellion stands on three pillars: care, courage, and creativity. Care means building around sustainability for you, your team, your customers, the planet. It means asking, is this nourishing or depleting before making decisions? Courage means doing things differently, even when it's uncomfortable, saying no to opportunities that don't align with your values, setting boundaries that might disappoint people, being honest about what you will and won't do, even if it costs you business short term. And creativity, well, that means you're not constrained by how things are usually done. You're designing new models, new approaches, new ways of creating value. You're asking what if instead of accepting this is how it's done. And when you combine these three, whoo, you are building something that's profitable, sustainable, and aligned. You end up creating a business that works for you instead of against you. Now, let me help you figure out which quadrant you're in right now or are heading towards. Because you can't navigate to where you want to go if you don't know where you are. So I want you to ask yourself these questions. When you think about your business, do you feel energized or depleted? If you're consistently depleted, you're in erosion territory, either the extraction engine or the conscious collapse. Are your values and your practices aligned? If you talk about sustainability and care, but your day to day operations require you to sacrifice your well being, you might be in the conscious collapse quadrant. Are you making money in ways that feel aligned with your values? If you're compromising on what matters to you to keep the lights on, you're probably in the compromised cause. Are you measuring success primarily by revenue and growth? If yes, and you're willing to extract yourself or others to hit those numbers, then you might be in the extraction engine. Does it feel like you're building something that could last, or are you constantly on the edge of burnout or collapse? Here's a brutal truth test. Look at your calendar and your bank account. Those two things, I think, will reveal your actual priorities more honestly than your mission statement ever will. If your calendar is packed with back to back obligations, leaving no space for rest or creativity, you're not in the creative rebellion. And if your bank account shows that you consistently are undercharging or making decisions from fear, you're not there either. If you're in the extraction engine, I want to share with you your path to the creative rebellion. So, what I want to do now is I want to talk about if you are in these three detrimental quadrants, what is the path towards the creative rebellion? Let's start first with the extraction engine. If you're in the extraction engine, here is your path to the creative rebellion. Step one, acknowledge the cost. Get brutally honest about what this pace is costing you, your health, your relationships, your peace, your creativity. Just get real about what is being affected because of this. Step two, ask the scary question. What would it look like to design a business model that created the same or better revenue without requiring extraction? This usually means focusing on creating more value for fewer people rather than scaling to serve more people at lower quality. And step three, being willing to slow down or even temporarily shrink. This is terrifying because it means it looks like you might be going backwards, but you're not. You're recalibrating. It reminds me of one of my favorite sayings: slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And sometimes we have to shift ourselves into these slow is smooth seasons so that we can recalibrate accordingly, thoughtfully, and strategically. I've coached people through this transition. I know it's scary, but on the other side, they have businesses that are more profitable, more sustainable, and actually enjoyable to run. And so the extraction engine promises fast success, but the creative rebellion promises sustainable success. So my encouragement for you is to choose wisely. All right, let's say you're finding yourself in the conscious collapse and you want to move towards the creative rebellion. Your path needs to start with alignment. Stop lying to yourself about what your business actually requires from you. Your Instagram says you're all about balance, but you haven't taken a day off in 3 months. Your website talks about boundaries, but you respond to client texts and emails at 10 p.m. The gap between what you preach and what you practice, that's what's killing you. And so here's what you need to do. What I encourage my clients to do who are in this quadrant, who are wanting to move towards the creative rebellion, is I encourage them to raise their prices, not a little, significantly. Most of the people in this quadrant tend to be undercharging because you haven't healed your relationship with money and worthiness. Then it's about setting real boundaries, not aspirational ones, real ones that you actually enforce even when it's uncomfortable. It's about learning, how do you say no to clients who aren't a good fit, even when you need the money, especially when you need the money, because working with the wrong people costs more than it pays. Build systems that support sustainability. Stop trying to hold everything in your head. Stop recreating the wheel for every client, because you can't help other people heal if you're depleting yourself to do it. That's not noble. It's unsustainable. Let's say you have found yourself in the compromise cause quadrant and you want to move towards the creative rebellion. If you're in the compromise cause, you need to examine your funding model. How are you making money? Does that method require you to compromise on your mission? Because here's the hard truth: you can't create lasting change using the master's tools, and you can't heal extractive systems while depending on them for your survival. You need to get creative about revenue. And so this might mean building in more earned revenue instead of depending solely on grants or investors who want control. This might mean creating multiple smaller revenue streams so you're not beholden to any single funder. Being willing to grow slower so you can maintain integrity, saying no to funding that comes with strings that compromise your mission. And I know what you might be thinking at this point. You might be thinking, okay, but I need the money to make impact. But here's what I've learned: impact funded by extraction isn't sustainable. You're building on a foundation that will eventually crumble. So it's better to build something smaller that's truly aligned than something bigger that requires you to compromise. So I'm describing all of these different paths towards the creative rebellion, but I want to talk about why people might resist the creative rebellion, why people might not choose the creative rebellion even after hearing all of this, because it might be a little slower. The creative rebellion doesn't promise overnight success, it promises something better, sustainable success, but that might and can take longer at times. And in a world that celebrates hockey stick growth, choosing slow and steady feels like falling behind. It's less understood. Most people won't get what you're building. They'll think you're not ambitious enough. They'll think you're leaving money on the table. And so this requires deep self knowledge and awareness, because you can't follow someone else's blueprint if you go this path. You have to know yourself, truly, deeply know yourself, your values, your needs, your boundaries, strengths, and vision. And this means doing the inner work. And that work never ends. It challenges your relationship with money. You have to get comfortable charging what your work is actually worth. You have to believe that you can make good money while maintaining your values. And most people would rather follow the proven path to extraction than forge a new path to liberation, even if that proven path is killing them. Don't be like most people. You don't have to be like most people. And so if you're ready to build the creative rebellion, here's how to start. First, get clear on your non negotiables. What values are you absolutely unwilling to compromise on? What kind of life do you want your business to support? And be specific. I value rest is too vague. I will not schedule client calls after 5 p.m. or on weekends is specific. Second, design your business model around your non negotiables, not in spite of them. Start with your values and build a model that honors them. This might mean offering services in different formats, working with fewer clients at higher prices, building in rest periods, creating group offerings, a hybrid model with different revenue streams, but get creative. There are infinite ways to structure a business. Third, build your support system. Find entrepreneurs trying to build in the creative rebellion. You need people who will celebrate your decision to grow slowly, people who will remind you why you're doing this differently, even when the pressure to conform gets intense. Through Choose Courage Inc., we have two ways that we help folks with this. We have a group coaching offering that runs over the course of 3 months. And then we also have an online community called the Choose Courage Collective, filled with entrepreneurs who are wanting to build in the creative rebellion. Fourth, expect to iterate. Your first version won't be your final version. You'll learn, you'll discover what works, and you'll refine, and that's okay. It won't be a straight line, but it will be a good journey. And so the creative rebellion isn't about perfection from day one. It's about staying committed to your values while staying flexible about how you express them. I want to give you some concrete examples of what this looks like. Think about a graphic designer who only takes 4 clients at a time, premium prices for deep ongoing partnerships instead of churning through one-off projects, weeks between clients for rest and creative rejuvenation, same money as before, half the hours though, and better work. Or think about a consultant who switched from day rates to a membership model. So instead of selling his time, he created a community where members get monthly trainings, office hours, and a private forum. More predictable revenue, more leverage, and he's also serving more people without burning out. Or think about a wellness practitioner who was killing herself seeing clients one on one all day. So she restructured to offer group programs and recorded content alongside limited one on one sessions. And that ended up doubling her income. She ended up having to work fewer hours, and she also had better client results because of the community. And so these aren't people who had special advantages, these examples, right? These are people who were willing to get creative about their business models and design something that worked for them instead of against them. Because here's the thing, here's something you need to hear. If you're waiting for permission to build differently, you're going to be waiting forever. The mainstream business world will never validate the creative rebellion. The influencers teaching extraction engine tactics will never celebrate your decision to grow slowly. And so you have to give yourself permission to build a business that works for your life instead of building a life that works for your business. Permission to define success differently than how it's defined in Forbes or on LinkedIn. Permission to care about things like rest, creativity, alignment, and sustainability, not as luxuries you can afford after you're successful, but as foundations you build from day one. Because nobody's coming to tell you it's okay to do this. You have to decide that it's okay to do this. You have to bet on yourself and your vision, even when nobody else gets it yet. And so I want to offer you one more reframe. Building a business in the creative rebellion is an act of protest. Every time you choose sustainability over growth, you're protesting extraction capitalism. Every time you set a boundary that protects your well being, you're protesting hustle culture. Every time you price your work based on value instead of charging the minimum, you're protesting the systemic devaluation of creative and care work. Your business can be your protest. Your business can be your protest. I want to say that one more time. Your business can be your protest, your statement about what you think is possible, about what you believe the world needs more of, and how you think work should feel. And in a world that tells you your worth is tied to your productivity, building a sustainable business is revolutionary. In a world that celebrates extraction as excellence, building a regenerative business is radical. And in a world that tells you to optimize everything and scale at all costs, building something small and excellent is defiant. You don't have to be explicitly activist for your business to be part of the rebellion. The way you structure it, the values you embed in it, the culture you create, that's the rebellion. Because the creative rebellion is a long game. You're not going to build it in 90 days. You're not going to follow a formula. You're not going to have it figured out tomorrow. You're going to experiment. You're going to iterate. You're going to learn, adjust. And some things will work, some things won't, and you'll make mistakes, but you'll pivot. And if you stay committed to the three pillars, care, courage, and creativity, if you keep coming back to your values when things get hard, if you're willing to build differently, even when it's uncomfortable, you will create something remarkable. Not remarkable because it's the biggest or fastest growing, but remarkable because it's sustainable, because it's healthy, because it's aligned, because it actually delivers on what it promises, because it nourishes instead of depletes. And the world needs more entrepreneurs building in the creative rebellion. We have enough extraction engines. We have enough conscious collapse. We have enough compromised cause. We need more bold, beautiful alternatives, more people proving that you can build something profitable and sustainable and aligned. And so here's your choice. You can build in the compromised cause, start with good intentions and watch them get squeezed out by the need to survive. Or you can choose the creative rebellion. Build something sustainable, aligned, and genuinely liberating. It might take a little longer. It might take a little longer. It might be less understood. It might require more courage. But on the other side, though, you'll have a business you'll actually enjoy running, a life you don't need to escape from every weekend, and a practice that nourishes you while it serves others. The choice is yours, but make it consciously. Don't just stumble into a quadrant by default. If you're at the beginning of your entrepreneurship journey, choose deliberately. And if you're already building, but you're in the wrong quadrant, it's not too late. It's not too late, y'all. You can redesign, you can pivot, you can move toward the creative rebellion. And even though it won't be easy, I promise you it will be worth it. So thanks for being here. If this resonated with you, please share it with someone who's thinking about entrepreneurship or who's trying to build something different. If you are in a place of wanting to redesign your business or to build a business, you don't know where to start, hop to choosecourageinc.com and explore our group coaching, explore our community with other entrepreneurs who are living and breathing in the creative rebellion. And remember that business can be a vehicle for liberation, but only if you build it in that way from the start. Thanks for hanging out with us and diving into some of these real and unfiltered conversations. We know your time is valuable, and so we don't take it for granted. If today's episode made you think, if it challenged you, or gave you something new to consider, we'd love for you to hit that follow button on whatever streaming service you're using. That way, you'll never miss an episode when we drop them. And if you want to go even deeper, sign up for our newsletter at choosecourageinc.com, and you'll get updates on new episodes, access to exclusive freebies, and first dibs on coaching opportunities and other resources to help you make bold moves in your life and business. So we appreciate you, we see you, and we're rooting for you. Until next time, keep choosing courage over comfort, and a friendly reminder to drink some water.